Why I never been particularly bullish on Chile? Well, today we discuss. Regarding economics, Chile has been the rock star of Latin America regarding, of course, economic development, also has one of the highest GDP per capita in Latin America, has several free trade agreements with the rest of the world, and has been somehow business friendly uh, compared to the rest of Latin America. However, there's a lot beyond this particular narrative, de facto, I'm talking boots on the ground, that I never, that Chile hasn't been particularly appealing for me regarding investing, doing business overall, and all that jazz, because in practice is the picture is not as pretty as it seems, because you see Chile has a particular dynamic, socially, culturally, and well, at least economically, has been very positive between the 1990s and the early 2000s. And basically Chile stagnated on the early 2010s, but the full results we haven't seen it yet. Still, what I think, I mean, I don't think Chile is going to go, down to the drain. However, I think what happened with Chile is that got stagnated and reached a crystal ceiling that many countries that are on this development curve, they reach. And I think, honestly, that Chile just reached it several years ago, but still, it's not on the narrative right now. So today I'm going to give 8 reasons why I am not particularly bullish on Chile on the long run. The number one is what is known in economics as development trap. That basically Chile was an undeveloped economy in the 70s and the 80s, and we start seeing, some significant growth, also applying these particular economic policies of what is known as the Chicago Boys, this particular group of young economists that apply free market policies on the Chilean economy back then. And I don't want to get on the politics on that because are kind of complicated. However, since the early 2010s, that's when you saw the results of overall, I'm talking on the average citizen regarding standards of living and so on. And afterwards, what happened is Chile got stagnated, and basically Chile hasn't been growing consistently as it should regarding the position that it has right now. Number two is bad governance. What happened in Chile on the past, let's say, 5 presidential terms is that in Chile has gone on a more of a public spending spree, more public presence and the public sector throughout the Chilean economy, and that has halted more, further growth within, of course, within the economy. And also you have to add up the bureaucracy that you have in Chile. Chile is a country where the bureaucracy is bad. Of course, in Latin America is bad overall, but in Chile is, is not as pleasing and also hinders further economic development and so on. And of course, when you see the rankings on Chile regarding the doing business ranking of the World Bank or the Heritage Foundation, you see that Chile, for Latin American standards, has a pretty solid rank. However, for worldwide standards, still not as good as you want, at least compared to the OECD countries, for instance, that actually Chile is a member of the OECD. But of course, we also have to talk about taxes. Yet again, Chile is on the OECD, and the fiscal burden of such countries is quite high. So right now, the politics in Chile, and I don't want to get too much on the politics, go towards more of a populist system that wants to please as much as they can the general electorate, and giving public handouts and things like that, public jobs, things of that nature. So at the end, what the governance in Chile, they are looking, they have been looking on the past, let's say, decade and a half, has been to please this populist demand from the average Chilean population. Number three are particular social situations that you see in Chile that, the social dynamics in Chile are very particular. For instance, there is a lot of nepotism. In all over the world, there is a lot of nepotism. That's a given fact. However, Chileans take it to the extreme. There is an estimation in Chile that over 90% of each job vacancy is filled throughout nepotism. For instance, in other countries like the United States, it's something like 70%, 75%, and that will be the rest of the world over 80%. But Chileans take it to the extreme, and actually everything works throughout, who do you know, people like that. Actually, Chileans have a name for this. It's called pitutos. I'm gonna put the name here. It's a particular Chilean word. Well, anyways, so that makes more difficult in order to get some synergy over there in Chile, because in Chile you need to know a particular individual, a particular person. You have to belong to a particular ethnic group or socio-economic group in order to do something. So that hinders a lot, yet again, synergy in order to get something going on within Chile. Number four is inequality. And yet again, I'm not a SJW or anything like that. And I don't have a problem with inequality overall. However, in Chile, it manifests, and I'm going to put here the Gini coefficient for Chile, that is, a misleading number, because it's not so much about the socioeconomic inequality that you see in Chile, is how do you move on in society overall is quite difficult. In Chile, apparently a significant part of the GDP is managed only by 10 families, around 10 families. So basically, you have to belong on a particular family, a particular socio-economic environment in order to yet again get some synergy, get things going on. So when that happens, what the main result is that the incentives in order to, of course, to get something going on, a business, a venture, a project, something like that, if you don't belong to a particular social group, ethnic group, you don't grow up on a specific neighborhood, things like that, it's gonna be an extra friction that is very hard to overcome within the Chilean society and the Chilean mindset. Number five is a low trust society. Well, what happens in Chile, and of course, you will argue that Latin America is a low trust society overall. But yet again, Chileans take it to the extreme. For instance, you notice that in the capital, Santiago de Chile, you have a notary basically at every corner, because in order to do anything, you need a document, you have to take it to the notary, because the word, my word is my bond, my word is as strong as an oak. Well, that doesn't have any value in Chile. That I'm not saying, I like to have everything in writing. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. However, since there is a low trust, within society overall. So when you do business and things like that, synergy is going to be less efficient because you have more frictions. So the trend that you can see here regarding Chile is that a bunch of social and cultural issues that are very specific for Chile make it harder to synergy, to do business, to pull off some projects, to do networking, and so on and so on. Number six is a lack of diversification within the economy. And the Chilean economy is very leveraged against the copper industry. You know that copper is one of the most important commodities on the world. It's known as Dr. Copper because basically it can predict if the economy overall, the worldwide economy, will go through a recession or not regarding the price of copper. At least is what is believed amongst economists, investors, and so on. Well, anyways, on the case of Chile, Chile is one of the main important producers of copper all over the world. So the copper economy, the copper activity is very important and is the biggest industry within Chile. So if anything goes bad, the price of copper worldwide just tanks or drops down, that has a trickle-down effect on the rest of the economy. And actually, the most important company in Chile is Codelco. That is a public company, state-owned company. And this company is actually mismanaged. The annual turnover is lackluster, and all of this operation sometimes when shows losses on the P&L, on the balance sheet, has to be covered with public funds. So therefore, this dependence on the Chilean economy, on the copper industry, well, that's one of the reasons that I'm not bullish on Chile. Number 7 is education. In Chile, the education system, I'm not going to say it's not good, but here's the issue. Yet again, the nepotism, also the social inequality. What happens is that if you go to a top tier school in Chile, you are good. Regarding first, the quality is good, both on the elementary, high school, and of course college. If you go to a good school, yeah, the level is actually good, but either takes money or it takes to belong to a particular socio-economic group, sometimes even an ethnic group. So basically, you have different cohorts of education levels that, yet again, like the rest of the world, uh, if you belong to a rich family, something like that, you can access to good education. If you are middle class, you're going to access to a middle class education. And if you are not on a particular favorite group, you're going to access to the bottom of the barrel education that is actually not good. So you see the inequality that I talk about Chile, it trickles down also to each socioeconomic cohort of Chilean society. Also in Chile, you have one of the most expensive education in the world, specifically on college education, adjusted for purchasing power parity. On this rank, Chile is the third most expensive place to get higher education, only after the United States. And lastly, number 8, we have to talk about social turmoil. In 2019, there were significant protests and manifestations and social turmoil regarding, it was an issue with the prices of the public transportation. You can see here the pictures and the images and so on. That created a lot of turmoil that trickles down to economics, to synergy on the Chilean economy, also on investments and so on. And they also tried to pass a referendum in order to change the constitution. And what you can get on that regard is that there's a lot of unease on Chilean population that can manifest yet again on the near future on more social unrest, social turmoil, and that trickles down for the worse on the rest of the economy and society. By the way, please, if you're watching this from Chile, take it with a grain of salt. This is just food for thought, just a reflection based on the research that I have done throughout the years on the country, and I hope the best actually for Chile, but particularly for these reasons, myself, I'm not particularly bullish on Chile. Thank you for watching Continental Insider. Please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on social media, and if you want to work with us, continentalinsider.com. Thanks again, and have a nice day.